Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We saw the 29th verse yesterday. Jara marana mokshaya mam ashritya yatanti ye. This is what we saw. Jara, old age. Marana, death. Those who work, who strive, who want what? Freedom, moksha. Freedom from old age and death. Moksha has many definitions, and basically it is freedom from samsara, freedom from a sense of bondage. The sense of bondage being centered around endings. Here, the death and old age, which are the most problematic of the what we call the six-fold modifications. Birth is celebrated. Everybody distributes sweets, laddus and all kinds of things. Growing up is celebrated. Blossoming into adulthood is celebrated. It's a rite of passage in many cultures. After that, there is nothing to celebrate. Nothing at all to celebrate. Old age, what is there to celebrate? And the friends also don't help. Because, 50th birthday, what do they send? Cards which say, you are over the hill. Seeing that, only one gets depressed. Over the hill. And so there is nothing to celebrate. And then, of course, death is something to grieve for the people left behind, provided one has led a life in such a way that people grieve. Okay, sometimes there is great relief. Okay, thank God, gone. But generally that's not the case. Death is feared from the standpoint of the person undergoing it also. Death is feared because it is seen as an ending when there is no coming back. If a person is going to another city, bye-bye, see you later. But here there is no seeing, no later. And it's gone. And so therefore the people who work for moksha, moksha here is specifically defined as decline and endings, because these are the two most scariest things from the standpoint of adhyatma, the body-mind-sense complex. And so, those who strive, how do they strive? Keeping me in view, taking complete refuge in me. They don't really look for any other help. Who? Brahmavit. The people, the person who knows Brahman is called Brahmavit, Brahmavidaha. The people who know Brahman, Jnanis, people who have this knowledge of the self. They don't look to the left, they don't look to the right, they don't lean on things that lean on other things. This is very important. What are things that lean on other things? Everything. Whatever you lean on, leans on something else. Pujya Swamiji used to relate an incident of a man who got washed away by a flash flood. And he prayed, let me find something to hold on to. And a small log, or what his brain thought was a small log, floated by. And he said, God is great. Let me hold on to this. He held on tightly. Imagine his surprise when the log held him back, returned the embrace, held him even more tightly. The log was a baby bear cub. It too prayed, let me, must have, let me also find something to hold on to. It also prayed. Then what happened? Then this fellow got very scared. That also got scared. And then the mother is waiting nearby. That is even scarier. Big bear. So, whatever we hold on to is what? Holding on to something else. This is called leaning on something else. We should only be Brahmalinaha. Okay, that's a Sanskrit word, never mind. So, we should only lean on Brahman, nothing else. And here Brahman is seen as Ishvara, the cause of the Jagat. So, they don't take other people's help in trying to overcome old age. Like they don't go for Botox treatment. Okay, Botox means some kind of a poison. Really, yes. Is injected in between the forehead. Third eye center, okay, and where else it's injected, I don't know, wherever else where there are wrinkles. So, and then after that you become a statue. You can't smile, even when there is a joke, because the whole thing gets paralyzed, you can barely speak. So they don't take this kind of help. And they don't go for anything else. They don't also go for, as we saw earlier, micro devatas, micro puja, and the karma phala coming from that which has to be seen through a microscope. Tiny, tiny karma phalas. They don't go for that. They go straight away for Bhagavan, and they take the help of Bhagavan to overcome old age and death. What do you mean take the help of Bhagavan? Do they sit and pray? If you sit and pray, will you always look 16 and a half? No. Why? Because this is how it is. This is how the law of the universe is, and that's why it's called a law. It won't change. So then, Mam Ashritya, meaning falling back on me, taking refuge in me, means what? Understanding me. And there's only one way to understand Brahman, Bhagavan, as oneself. Understanding that Brahman, Bhagavan, is free of old age and death, and understanding that I am Brahman, therefore what? I am also free of old age and death, the person becomes free. So they know Brahman. That's how they know Brahman, because they have studied, they have worked. And Mam Ashritya also means relying only on me, in the sense of I am the source of all help, all prayers, including prayers for antahkarana shuddhi, in inner purification. Without this inner purification, no knowledge can take place. Knowledge is happening everywhere. The pravaha of knowledge, the flow of knowledge is like the Ganga. It is there. But I can't drink it. Why? Because there are problems. It won't go down the throat, and that's why, because there is blocks, fears, resistance, and all that is eliminated with prayer, with the help of Bhagavan alone. Not only do they have moksha, they also know everything about karma. What is karma? Nothing but Bhagavan. What is karma phala? Bhagavan. Who is the doer? Bhagavan. For whose sake is the action being done? Bhagavan. Everything is Bhagavan. This they know, and this is something, because they know this, they are free. These jnanis are free beings because they know akhilam karma. Akhilam karma, everything that is called karma, karma phala, viduhu. And then they also know adhyatmam brahma, meaning they know Brahman as the truth of adhyatmam, myself. They know Brahman as the self, kritsnam, completely. And they know that karma has nothing to do with me. It's all just Bhagavan alone. So then the 30th verse is a little cryptic. But we need not worry because we have Arjuna. What does Arjuna do? Ask questions. That's his job. And he has been a good boy because he hasn't asked questions for quite some time. And so he's going to ask 2 questions after listening to the last verse of the 7th chapter. And that gives before we look at this verse, in fact in this verse there is nothing much to look at because it's going to go immediately to those questions about these words and the answers. So here in the 7th chapter, just a look back at the 7th chapter. The 7th chapter did a nice overview of the nature of Bhagavan. Tatastha Lakshana was given and Swarupa Lakshana was also given. Swarupa Lakshana, the unchanging nature of Bhagavan, the Tatastha Lakshana, the nature of Bhagavan vis-a-vis the Jagat, that which comes and goes, this was also given. This was called, the Tatastha Lakshana was presented as Apara Prakriti, and then the Maya Shakti, etc. And then the Swarupa Lakshana, Shuddha Chaitanyam, Satchit Ananda, unchanging nature of Bhagavan was presented as Para Prakriti. And so this Para Apara we saw, and then what is the result of this knowledge we saw. Who are the people who get interested in this we saw. 4 kinds of bhaktas are there and how to graduate from one to another we saw. So the 7th chapter covered a lot of ground. Yet there could be blocks. Yet there could be difficulties. And even though in the 3rd and the 4th chapter we have seen in detail how to overcome these difficulties, especially from the standpoint of preparing for the knowledge and antahkarana shuddhi, cleansing the mind and the heart of strong preferences called raga, strong prejudices called dvesha. How to manage the raga dveshas was talked about. But then that is, even though one takes care of the raga dveshas, there could be other secret blocks. And that secret block is going to be dealt with in chapter 8. What is this secret block? It's a secret. No. Secret block means even oneself doesn't know. With great difficulty one knows that there is a block. So what is that? That is a scenario where the person has more or less a clean antahkarana. The inner instrument is very clean, clear of strong emotions, but the mind will not stay. This was already discussed in chapter 6, the non-staying mind and how to do this. But then still there could be secret forms, meaning hidden forms of vikshepa. The 2 problems that come in the way of gaining the knowledge, one, mala, impurity, hurt, guilt, omissions, commissions, and the other one, vikshepa. And for vikshepa, certain upasanas, practices that center the mind and allow one to focus are extremely advised, needed. And so the next chapter called Akshara Brahma Yoga. Akshara Brahma comes from the first word in the answer here. So that's why. And then that is going to focus on making the mind sthira, along with upasana. Upasana means practice of meditation, and then the meditation on Omkara. Up till now, just the meditation in general, Dhyana Yoga was discussed in chapter 6, just Dhyanam, meditation, how to sit, how to stand, what to not think of, what to think of, where to look, where to not look, all this we saw. But now it is Omkara Upasana will be discussed. What is this Om is going to be discussed. Because without such discussion, what happens? Without such understanding, one doesn't know what to meditate on, and one doesn't know how to center the mind, and then that is why there is Vikshepa. Another not so hidden obstacle is called Laya. What is Laya? Sleep, yes. And that's good that we were awake to say that. So, sleep. Sleep is also a kind of a Vikshepa, but it is separated. So when we say Mala and Vikshepa, in Vikshepa sleep is included. But then when we say Laya and Vikshepa, Vikshepa distractions, Laya sleep. This is how we understand. So then the Upasana is discussed. And then since the 7th chapter has ended on a note of how to conquer old age and death, in the 8th chapter, Lord Krishna is going to tell us how to die. It's a very important chapter. How to die. What is the best way of letting the prana go? And really speaking, there is not enough discussion about that in the culture. As soon as we think about death, you want to put it under the carpet. No, everything is fine. So much so that even the dying person doesn't want to talk about death. And so this is something which one has to really introspect on. So it's the 8th chapter also includes the topic of what is the best way to give up the life. What is it that I have to know before I die, and how is whatever I know, how is that going to protect me? This is another topic in chapter 8. Then along with the art of dying, there is the discussion also on Upasanayaha Phalam. So the Omkara Upasana and then the meditations that are given here, deathbed meditations, etc., they themselves have certain phala. What happens if you do this meditation? So the phala of that, which loka you will go to, and all this is also given. And I should add a caveat for those that are interested. And the person described in chapter 7, verse 29, they are not at all interested in that. Because they are Brahmavits. And so, the Upasana is important to center the mind. To center the mind to stay awake in a relaxed way. Because what happens when the mind, when the mind relaxes, when you relax the mind immediately starts to think, oh, this fellow must be getting ready to go to sleep. Let me cooperate. Let me help out. And then it is surprised because the person is still in a seated position. Oh, he's going to sleep, she's going to sleep sitting up. Okay, no problem. And so the art of allowing the mind to relax, and we don't know any other relaxation than sleep, but allowing the mind to go deep without needing to go to sleep, all that is going to be presented, and all that is important to understand. And so, in response to Arjuna's questions, which are going to be spurred by the 30th verse of chapter 7, we have the entire chapter 8. And since it is all about the art of dying, etc., and what happens after death, that is why when a person passes away, this chapter is chanted. It is believed that the jiva that is there, that has survived the death, is not far from the body, is not far from the place, and hangs around for a few days and has the ability to listen. And chanting this helps the jiva to get the address of where to go in case it is lost. Here, let me help you. So the 8th chapter is a GPS for departed souls. Very, very effective and efficacious. So let us chant the last verse here. Sadhi bhutadhi daivam mam Sadhi yajnancha ye viduhu Prayanakale pichamam Te viduryukta chetasaha Sadhi bhuta sadhi daivam Sadhi bhutam sadhi daivam sadhi yajnam. Okay, what is this sadhi? So, the sa plus adhibhutam. Sa means saha. Yeah, adhibhutena saha vartate. Sadhibhutam. That which occurs along with. That is what the idea is. Along with adhibhuta. And don't worry about what all this is. We will see this in detail. Along with adhibhuta, those who know me, along with adhideva, those who know me, along with adhyatma, those who know me, along with adhiyajna, those who know me, and those who know me at the time of death. They are the ones who they are called yukta chetasaha, the one of prepared minds. That means they have the knowledge. If the mind is prepared, the knowledge is not far away. So the knowledge is there. And so those of prepared minds, they know. Those who know, they know. This is what it says. So now we have many, let's find out how many new words there are. What are the new words which we've never heard of? Adhibhuta, Adhideva, and Adhiyajna, 3. Okay? And then in the 29th verse we have some others. So we have Adhyatma, 4. And then we have Karma. Suddenly Karma has come. It's not a new word, but its sudden appearance here makes us suspicious. Why it is here? And we'll treat that as a new word. So how many words now? 5. And then this Brahman also has not been talked about really. What is this Brahman? We don't know. I mean, we have some ideas, but it hasn't been talked about at length. It has been talked about indirectly, but not really looked at head on. And so that also we will add. How many things? 6 things we do not know. Okay? Thank God there is Arjuna. 6 things we really do not know what they are. And it is perplexing, especially towards the end of the chapter, to have like a medley of new epithets, new names, and new things to think about, and then it not being explained at all. And so therefore, we have to see that there is some connection. This becomes the last verse, or the last two verses of the 7th chapter becomes a sangati, a connection to flow into what we call chapter 8. Okay? And so that's one thing. Second, we must not be flummoxed by these new words, because these new words are nothing that we have not yet seen. At the beginning of the 7th chapter, we saw two words, what is that called? Two phrases, para prakriti and apara prakriti. Para prakriti, consciousness; apara prakriti, the raw material, the maya shakti with which the whole jagat is made. We saw that. So para and apara prakriti alone here, these elements, adhibhuta, adhidaiva, adhideva, adhibhuta, adhyatma, adhiyajna, these are all just models of seeing what we already know as para prakriti and apara prakriti. So nothing to worry about at all. So then in the last verse, the Lord says, those who know me as adhibhuta, adhidaiva and adhiyajna, and those who know me at the end of their lives, even at the end of the lives, then they know who I am, and they indeed are truly prepared. They are the ones of prepared minds. This is said at the end. So what does this mean? This means that the para prakriti, what is called para prakriti, the absolute unchangeable nature of Bhagavan, and apara prakriti, everything else, the manifest universe is apara prakriti. And so that means these two the para prakriti has to be known, and apara prakriti is also known. How to know apara prakriti? Again, it is very difficult, because the whole manifest universe is so huge. Any small thing you study, it becomes a specialty. And then when you do when you specialize in something, you know more and more of less and less. That is what is called specialty. More and more of less and less. Before you got into this specialty, you knew less and less of more and more. That's the only difference. So how to know apara prakriti te viduhu kritsnam, it says. Apara prakriti is known how? By understanding that it is non-ultimate. That is how, by calling the spoof and knowing anatma, first one knows that this is not Brahman, this is not I. There is a distinction made. Dvauhi padarthau, we saw in Dindima. Two kinds of things are there. What are there? Atma, Anatma. Anatma, run away from Anatma and only be with Atma. This is what is taught. How to run away from Anatma? The legs with which you run, are they Atma or Anatma? Anatma. The mind with which you decide to run, is it Atma or Anatma? Anatma. So because of this so-called mix-up, there is nowhere to go. So the separation is cognitive. And the separation is temporary. It's not a permanent separation. It's a temporary separation, just to be able to understand the mix-up. The mix-up. The Anatma and Atma are hopelessly mixed up, starting with the body-mind-sense complex. So we apply a formula. Whatever I can objectify, what is that? Anatma. And the objectifier, me, Atma. We make this separation. But it doesn't sit well in the heart, because the heart wants non-duality, Advaita. Is there a Dvaita in this or not? Yes. Atma, Anatma. So, this is only Vedanta 101. So, Atma, Anatma, two things are there. I am Atma, everything that I can observe is what? Anatma. Then, at the next level of understanding, what do? We say, all that we call Anatma is nothing but a projection of the Atma. It's all a projection. It's a projection of the Atma, or everything that we call Anatma is as though projection of the Atma. So Anatma is what now? Atma. Oh, Atma is Anatma? No. Anatma is Atma. Atma is not Anatma. So that's how we have not, we don't have two anymore, we have one. That I call not I resolves into the I. The world of not I, Drishya Varga, everything that is seen, heard, objectified, resolves into the I. The I is irresolute, does not resolve into anything else. This the people know. This is how to know the Apara Prakriti. Not try to parse open each and every leaf and each and every tree and each and every anatomy. That doesn't work. Because then you'll need 10,000 lifetimes and still it will not be okay. Some people spend their life like this. Pujya Swamiji used to talk about an expert in bats. He was, he just studied bats lifelong. Fruit bat, fox-face bat, this bat, that bat. And interestingly, God has a sense of humor. His name was Bhatnagar. But in this country, what will they call him? Batnagar. Dr. Batnagar. So whole life goes in that, no matter how erudite one is. And it's nice to be able to study all this, but then it doesn't lead you to what you really want to do, where you really want to go. And where you really want to go is to the truth of what this Para-Prakriti is, and understanding myself as Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, as we saw in the morning, so that there is no need to keep repeating this lesson. And come back to the classroom of life. Why? Fail. That's why. Repeat the classroom of life. And so therefore here that Para and Apara Prakriti is put through the kind of a model. This model we have seen a little bit, but it's worth repeating because it makes a lot of sense. The Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, and the Adhideva and Adhyatma model. Adhi means centered on. Adhyatma, centered on I. Adhibhuta, centered on the surroundings. Adhideva, then centered on forces beyond my control. Devatas, so many celestial forces in the form whose function is to carry out the laws of Bhagavan, so to speak. That is also Bhagavan. Bhagavan is not that. That's what we have to understand. So the whole universe is seen through this threefold model. Adhidaivikam, Adhideva becomes Adhidaivikam in the abstract form. Adhidaivikam, Adhibhautikam, Adhyatmam, Adhyatmikam. So centered on I, meaning body, mind, sense, complex. This is what I is. I here is not Satchidananda Atma. Then centered on the forces of beyond my control, Devas. Then centered on the Bhutas. Everything can be looked, everything in the universe can be looked through this threefold model. And you find a very interesting way in which you see immediately the interconnectedness of all things instantly. If we move the hand like this, what do you feel? Air. Namaste Vayo. This is Bhagavan, an expression of Bhagavan. Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi. You are the only Brahman that I will know, that I can see and not see but touch. I can hear, I can touch. This is Adi Bhautikam. Vayu is everywhere. Vayu surrounds me. And then it is Bhagavan. It is, I look upon Vayu as Ishvara. This is what is happening in our temples too. Space is Ishvara, time is Ishvara, everything is Ishvara. If you go to Chidambaram, you will find a garland being suspended on nylon thread. You can't even see the thread. This is called Rahasya, secret of Chidambaram temple. Where is Lord Shiva? Well, we have trouble garlanding space, but this is what it would look like. We can never find a garland big enough for space, but we can garland a small little piece of space and show you this. This is what it is. So, air Bhagavan, air is Bhagavan from the standpoint of Adi Bhautika. And that same air, I breathe in, what happens to that air? That air becomes my prana. Prano vai Ishvara. Another Upanishadic statement, prana itself is Ishvara. Adi Bhautika, Vayu. Adhyatmika, prana. Amazing. Then, what is the law? So this Adhyatmika is also Ishvara. Prana is Ishvara, Vayu is Ishvara. And then what is the law that connects the Vayu to Prana? How come the air goes in and comes out and goes in again? Because the air is not an independent agent here. The air is not thinking, this person is an idiot. I think I'm not going to go in these pairs of lungs ever again. This person is not kind. This person needs to go because he's a burden to Mother Earth. Atatayi means what? Terrorist. This person is a terrorist. I'm not going to go in these pair of lungs. What has this person achieved other than tyrannize the whole world? I'm not going to go. Does the air say that? No. Bhishasmad vataf pavate bhishodeti suryah bhishasmad agnischendrascha mrityurdhavati panchama iti. It's as though out of fear. Fear means awareness that I have a boss. The wind blows. The wind blows in response to the laws. The sun rises in response to the laws of Ishvara. Agni, Indra, all of them do their jobs in response to Bhagavan, Ishvara. And death, which makes the whole world run, runs at the command of which Bhagavan? That is what we are talking about. And from this standpoint of the author of all the laws, the cause of the universe, we say Adhidaivika. From the standpoint of the laws, that is also the law that connects the prana with the Vayu is also Ishvara. Just the name changes. Everything is Ishvara. Name changes, Adhidaivika, Adhibhautika, Adhyatmika. It's a lovely model. Then Adhi Yajna is there, same thing, the one that receives all the oblations. And we find this particular model being used in the first chapter of the Taittiriya Upanishad. So we don't have to worry, all this will be explained in detail. And then, so with this, the 7th chapter closes with the following words. Om Tat Sat. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Jnana Vijnana Yogo Nama Saptamodhyayah. Om Tat Sat. Yeah, that was for me. Okay. Om, and that which is Om is a sound which indicates Bhagavan, and that alone is Sat. That alone is the only thing that is existent. And then, it will be talked about later in the Bhagavad Gita, so we don't have to spend a lot of time here. And then Om Tat Sat. Iti, thus, in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, that is Srimad. Srimad means what? Full of Shri. Shri is Lakshmi. Shri is that which brings the whole world to their knees. Shri is abundance, Shri is knowledge, Shri is prosperity, inner abundance, everything. So that Bhagavad Gita, which is itself abundant, prosperous, full, knowledge of fullness it has. And in this Bhagavad Gita, Gita Su, how many Gitas are there? One. But here plural is used for respect. So Gita Su, which is like an Upanishad. That's why it is called Gitopanishad. Which is like an Upanishad, which has two topics. What are the topics? Brahma Vidya and Karma Yoga, Yoga Shastra. So Brahma Vidyayam, in this Brahma Vidya, in this Yoga Shastra, and how is it presented? It is presented in the form of a dialogue. A sacred dialogue between a Shishya and a Guru. Not just Vada, Samvada. Samvada, where the benefit of doubt is given to the teacher, rather than coming and saying, you don't know anything. I have read somewhere else that this is what the interpretation is. You are wrong. So, you give the benefit of doubt to the teacher, because otherwise what's the use of having the teacher? The teacher will keep on saying and the mind keeps on rejecting. That is not good. So, giving the benefit of doubt to the teacher. So, Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Krishna Arjuna Samvade. In this Samvada, in this sacred dialogue between Shishya, disciple, and teacher, Guru. Now, this is what? Jnana Vijnana Yoga. It's not like some special asana, Jnana Vijnana Yoga, or a type of yoga asana schedule. Yoga has many meanings. Here it means Sangati, topic, chapter name. The chapter name is Jnana Vijnana Yoga. That is the name of the chapter. And why is it called that? Why not just Jnana Yoga? Because Jnanam, when Jnanam is used by itself, it is knowledge. But when Vijnanam is used, the Upanishad and the Bhagavad Gita, which is seen to be like an Upanishad, cannot have Punarupti Dosha, the fallacy of redundancy. You can't say the same thing again and again. And so therefore, what do we say? Jnanam means self-knowledge. Vijnanam means jnana nishtha, well assimilated self-knowledge. Iti saptamaha adhyayah. This concludes the 7th chapter. Arjuna is jumping up and down with his hand raised. As you will see, it opens with his questions. Om atha ashtamodhyayah. Arjuna uvacha. Kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam. King karma purushottama adhibhutancha kim proktam adhidaivam kimuchyate adhiyajñah katham kotra dehesmin madhusudana prayanakale cha katham jñeyosi niyatatmabhihi. If you compare the verse number 30 with verse number 1 and 2 of chapter 8, the same things are repeated. Other than, the only new thing is Arjuna Uvacha. That's all. Arjuna Uvacha means Arjuna went hand gliding. Correct? Yes? No. Just checking to see if people are awake. No. Arjuna said. And there are lots of kim. Kim means what? What? Okay. So, kim tad brahma. What is this Brahman that you are talking about? And then I heard you use one more word. What is that? Adhyatmam. What is this Adhyatmam? And then you also suddenly brought in karma in a chapter on Jnana Vijnana Yoga. In a chapter called Jnana and Vijnana, you brought in karma. What is this karma? And then, so that is number 3, right? Adhibhutam. What is this Adhibhutam? And then what is this Adhidaivam? And then 4 and 5. 6. Adhiyajñam. What is this Adhiyajñam? All 6 things which we delineated at the end of chapter 7 are in the form of question here. Then finally he says, Prayana kale. Prayana means journey. Kala, time. At the time of the journey. Oh, while getting into the plane? No. Different kind of a plane. One-way ticket. Okay. No coming back, at least not in the same form. That's why the relatives quickly dispose of the body. So that there is no chance of coming back, even if one wanted to. It's not there. They also don't want it. Ram Nam Satya hai. Finished. And so, this is that prayana. Prayana kale means at the time of departure from the body. Prayana kale cha, and at the time of departure from the body, katham, how, why, jneyah asi, why are you to be known? Niyatatma bhihi, by the one of disciplined minds. Why should they know you at the time of death? Why should they know you? See, this is all belief-based. We'll talk about this first, the Prayana Kala first. This is all belief-based. The belief, from reading verses like this, and then later on he's going to say, Antakale cha mam smaran muktva kalevaram. When one gives up the body after remembering me at the final moment, then te prayanti madbhavam. They become one with me. They become someone of my own nature, non-separate from me. And so, listening to all this, there is the popular belief and the popular imagination is rife with lot of myths. Thinking that one can get crash. One doesn't have to study. You can just get crash into Bhagavan by saying Narayana at the last minute. And then there are some hacks. Okay, how to do this? There are some popular hacks. What is a popular hack? Name your child Narayana. Simple. Yeah. Name the firstborn Narayana. Since the firstborn is really dear, then you fool Bhagavan. You are actually calling S-O-N, called Narayana, but then somehow you get crashed because it also happens to be the name of Bhagavan. But because of prarabdha, it doesn't work. Why? Because Narayana, 4-syllable name. You call him Nanu at home. So at the last minute, lying on the deathbed, full of tubes and full of I don't know what else, full of tubes from head to toe, and then uncomfortable, and the prana is not leaving easily, and then you want to think of Narayana. Who do you think of? Nano. Bhagavan takes care. Bhagavan has the last laugh. Yes. Plan foiled. But that's why this is the only culture and the only tradition where our names are that of Bhagavan. Usually they will say child of Bhagavan, servant of Bhagavan, like that in other traditions. In our traditions, because the vision is such that it is Bhagavan alone. So antakalepi smaran, mam smaran muktva kalevaram, like this, if it says, the word smaran must be understood properly. Smaran doesn't mean remembering. Smaran means janan, knowing. Knowing me even at the end of their life, before the end of the life. Because you can't say, oh, I have to know Bhagavan at the end of the life. Oh, that's far away. How do you know it's far away? We don't know it's far away. That antakala, the last minute, can be any time. Any time. And then 9/10 of the population is not ready. Not ready to go, not ready to understand Bhagavan, and not ready in so many different ways. And so therefore, this chapter he hopes to straighten all this out. And so, antakale mam janan, knowing me. Well, let's say a person's antakala, last moments, are spent in so much pain that they have to be on morphine drip. But being on morphine drip means what? They have gone away unconscious. Mind is not awake. They are not able to talk. They are not able to communicate, much less think, know anything. Or let's imagine another scenario of dementia. Alzheimer's. The person is a jnani, but then after that gets afflicted with Alzheimer's disease. Lord Krishna says it makes no difference to the person being a knower of Brahman, meaning a knower of me, Bhagavan says, as the truth of themselves. Why? Because this knowledge is not based on memory. Isn't that a relief? It is a relief, and also it takes care of one more excuse not to study Vedanta. You cannot say that, you know what, I have a terrible memory, I have passed my prime, and since I have passed the prime, I don't remember anything, so therefore this will not work. It will work. It's not based on memory. If the self were to be based on memory, memory becomes the limiting factor for the self, which we can no longer say is limitless. Self is not based on memory. Memory is based on the self. Nice try. So, that excuse, gone. I don't remember Atma, Anatma, all this. It's not something to remember. It's something to understand. And since the I is self-revealing, that's why the knowledge of the self is not based on memory. Memory is needed if you plan to teach. Yes, you have to know a few things. And if you plan to teach, memory is needed. Otherwise, it's not needed for you to understand and enjoy this knowledge. Memory doesn't matter. Let it come, let it go. The only thing you can say about the mind is, never mind. That's all. That's all you can say. So, even if the Antakala is fraught with dementia, fraught with morphine and other unconsciousness producing drugs, still it doesn't change the fact that the person knows. And when such a person departs, then there is no question of coming back, because the reason for the birth has already been completed. So that is the Prayana Kale. Why should people think of me at the time of, why should they think of you at the time of departure? So he asked for 6 things. There's nothing to translate here. The same 6 things over there that we delineated, he's asking one by one. Let us go to Bhagavan's answer. Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodhyatma Uchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaraha Visargah Karma Samgitaha Adhibhutanksaro Bhavaha Purushashchadhidaivatam Adhiyajñohamevatra Dehe deha bhrutambara. So, first he takes up, because Kim Tad Brahma. What is this Brahman? And the answer is given, Aksharam Brahma Paramam. Aksharam. This is a word that is taken from the Mundaka Upanishad. What is Paravidya? Same thing, Paraprakriti. Paravidya. What is Paravidya? The teacher says there are 2 kinds of knowledges, relative and absolute. Absolute, para; relative, apara. Both have to be known. What is apara? He starts off with a troublesome list. Rig Vedaha, Yajurvedaha, Samavedaha, Atharva Vedaha. And where are the Upanishads? In the Veda. And if the Upanishads themselves are Aparavidya, then what is left for Para? I thought the Upanishad is the boat through which I am going to sail out of the troublesome waters of samsara, but I find that that is called Apara. What is Para? And the answer to that is Yaya Aksharam Adhigamyate. That vritti, that transmission of knowledge which is understood in the heart, in the brain, in the buddhi, that alone is para. Yaya buddhi vritya. Buddhi vritti means the teacher talks about Brahman and it is received. It is received how? In the form of a thought. And very interestingly, the infinite is received through the form of an extremely finite thought that self-destructs upon delivering this transmission. Kshanika vritti. The vritti is momentary. It dies away, leaving in its wake the removal of ignorance. It takes a broom, removes ignorance, and then dies. That's what it does. Like so many animals in the wild. Sometimes the birds sit on the nests sit on their eggs without eating or drinking. And as soon as the hatchlings hatch, they die away. Fish also do that. Octopuses definitely do that. Octopus eggs take a long time to hatch. 1 year sometimes. So for 1 year, a female octopus cannot go anywhere. Her babies are there. She is holding on to them. She is sitting on them. And then Somehow it survives for all that time and then dies away, like even the vritti, which brings the knowledge of Brahman as the truth of myself. The name for this vritti is Akhandakara vritti, an uninterrupted vritti of wholeness coming from the mouth of the teacher to the ear of the student to the heart of the student. The vritti dies away, but the information or the knowledge that it brings stays. Why? Because it is non-separate from you, and the I being self-effulgent, self-evident, it doesn't need to be remembered. It already is, and it is shown what it is shown. So this is what is called Yaya Akshara. Akshara, that which never declines. Aksharam Brahma Paramam. Paramam, ultimate, knowing which there is nothing more to know. There is nothing extra to know. After moksha, what? Nothing. That's all. Nothing means no other pursuits. People have a hard time with this. People come and say, I think I have moksha. What should I do next? Yeah. Go get a job, that's all. Yeah. Contribute to society. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.